Congressman Blaine Luetkemeyer. Blaine, great to hear from you again. It's been a while.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, always a pleasure to be with you.
Thanks so much for joining us here today, Blaine. So, Blaine, there was a debate on last night. I don't know if you caught that or not. So,
yeah, I spent an hour and a half watching the battle back.
Hey, Blaine, as a sitting congressman, as somebody who I'm going to call your election early. I'm going to say that you're going back to D.C. in January. I don't want to jinx you, but I don't even know if I don't know if you have. Do you have a Democratic opponent this year? Or
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I have a Democrat, Constitutional Libertarian.
Okay, so you're running an election and all that, but I know how hard you work, and I know your district fairly well, and so let's just presume that you're back in D.C. As a sitting congressman, do you have an opinion on what a Trump presidency, what you envision that would be, versus another Clinton presidency, and what all you would have to deal with as a congressman?
Well, yeah, we've had some meetings, our caucus has, with Trump, and he's been very open about what he wants to try and do. And we meet when we were in D.C. We met once a week with his liaison to Congress, and we still have an occasional conference call with his liaison, so we can all kind of stay on the same page and understand what's going on and get his points of view. And basically, he's on the same page we are with a lot of the issues that we're working on. One of the things that we did this last spring was we came out with what Paul Ryan calls the Better Way agenda. It's kind of like a new contract with America. It's got six different things, and one of them is our tax reform plan, which Donald Trump has really adopted. I mean, the plan he's talking about, he scrapped his earlier plan because it really wasn't quite as good as what we had, and said, "Hey, look, you guys got a better plan, so I'm going to adopt yours." And so this afternoon, I was grabbing a bite of lunch and happened to flip on the TV, and I saw a couple of commentators talking about Trump's plan versus Hillary's plan, and the Democrat on there totally misrepresented what the plan was all about. I mean, this plan, we've had our plan viewed by a number of economists. His plan that he's taken and kind of tweaked ours a little bit has been viewed by lots of economists, and it's going to create 25 million new jobs. It's going to generate trillions of dollars of new revenue.
And Blaine, what are the biggest drivers in that plan? I'm excited to hear this. You're the first person I've really heard that says, I don't think people realize it, that Trump, I remember he met with all of you, and obviously you're on the same pages on big things like tax policy and the economy. So what are the big drivers in the Trump congressional plan that are going to do that?
Well, it's deregulating some of the nonsense going on in Washington. It's, as he said last night, it's coming up with good trade deals that put our companies in a competitive level with the rest of them. Right now, they're a non-competitive level. And then tax cuts. Tax cuts work. They're trying to misrepresent a tax cut that was done during the Bush years and say this doesn't work. If you go back and look, even John Kennedy, a Democrat, did tax cuts and made it work.
Yes, he did.
Tax cuts work if they're structured correctly. In the past, a lot of problems with tax cuts were that because there's more money coming in, the Congress decided to spend more money. If you hold spending, you can grow your economy, you can grow the revenues coming into the government and decrease the deficit and the debt. It can be done with the right Congress in charge. So, I think a Trump presidency is one where you're going to see deregulation. We've got tons of bills. In the House last year, we passed over 500 bills that we sent to the Senate that would do a lot of things that your listeners this afternoon, Tim, would want us to do, whether it's with regards to regulating EPA, whether it's regarding freeing up the local folks in education to do what they want to do. The small business folks are being hammered from the financial sector, as well as all these other rules from OSHA. All of these things. If you cut out some of this nonsense and free up our entrepreneurial spirit of our small business people, this country and this economy is going to go gangbusters. Plus the fact that if you leave the money in the people's hands or leave it in the business's hands who want to invest it and turn it over and spend it, that's going to generate the economic activity that's going to generate the money it takes to run our government and this country. And we don't have to do it by raising taxes. You do it by lowering taxes and let the people make the choices, not Hillary Clinton and her cronies decide who gets what. Whenever she gets a dollar, she gets to decide where that's going to go. And she'll go to her friends, as per the Clinton Foundation and all the other emails that are leaking out of WikiLeaks, how they pay back and work with all the folks who are their best friends and best contributors. That's not what's going to happen with the Trump administration. With the Trump administration, you're going to cut regulations so that everybody have the opportunity to keep their money and drive this economy.
Absolutely. Speaking to Congressman Blaine Luetkemeyer. Blaine, you brought up a couple points there I wanted to further explore with you. So when Hillary Clinton last night says, and I think you're the perfect person to ask this because I know you do focus heavily on fiscal issues and trying to help out the small business owners of your district and of all of Missouri, which are the job drivers of the entire state and the entire nation. They're the ones that actually, I think 80+% of the economy is driven a lot on the backbone of small business owners. When Hillary Clinton says, "Oh, don't worry, I'm just going to go where the money is on all those rich people making $250,000 or more, so $251,000 or more," Blaine, isn't she really talking about taxing mom and pop small businesses?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Most people, as you well know, Tim, most small businesses are S corps. In other words, you pay your income tax through your personal income tax forms and at the personal income tax rate rather than the corporate rate. If you're going to tax people at $250, you're a small business. That might sound like a lot of money, but if you're a small business that employs 15 or 20 people and you're only making $250,000 a year, and you got to use that money then to make loan payments, make interest payments, and make improvements in your business, that's not a lot of money. If you're going to take that away from them, that's what's happening right now. Is that these small businesses are saying, "Hey, look, I can't go out and expand right now. I can't go out and buy a new building or buy build a new manufacturing line in my plant here.
Yeah,
I can't go out and hire new people." And as a result, you're seeing our economy stagnate.
Well, Blaine, exactly, and I think we could have a real life example, right? We could bring up one of the diners or one of the little family restaurants in your district, and you say $250,000. Well, take out employee salaries, take out Obamacare premiums, take out workers' comp insurance, take out property tax. You get to $251 pretty quickly, I would think, for a small business owner in one of Blaine Luetkemeyer's constituents.
Yeah, and then you start regulating them, and they have to sit there and say, well, what new regulations are coming down that I'm going to have to deal with? What's it going to cost me to continue to comply, to stay in business? And suddenly you get this mindset of the small business people is like, well, wait a minute, I can't use this money to expand my business. I've got to keep it in reserve here in case another new rule or another situation comes along that I've got to try and find a new way to comply with. I may have to hire a new person to comply with. I may have to buy a new part. I may have to who knows what with some of this crazy regulations coming down. And in the long run, sometimes these small businesses are regulated right out of business because they can't afford to spread out these regulated costs for them to comply with over their small incomes. And you add income taxes on top of this. Tim, it's a known fact that you could take the top 1% of the people in this country and take every penny of income away from them, and still not enough to balance our budget.
Exactly.
So this is all a very misleading way of misrepresenting what they're really wanting to do, which is to go after the middle income folks and every working person in this country, and to balance the books of this country on their backs and use it as a backdoor way to get in their pockets. It is a shameful way of going about business.
Blaine, we've got a couple minutes left. I want to talk to you about another topic that Hillary Clinton danced around for 3 debates in a row, never really answered a direct question on it. Some of the WikiLeaks stuff have come out that shows what her real beliefs are about Obamacare. I think that's another issue, Blaine, that would be treated the future of Obamacare would be treated very differently under a Trump presidency versus a Clinton presidency, right? What would you see as the different paths there? And just talk a little bit about what you're seeing about. I see Obamacare as imploding, and I want to know if that's true from your point of view.
Yeah, I'm in the business. I've been in the financial services business, and I was an insurance agent in the banking business. And when you look at how this thing was structured, you could see, if you had some background in this thing would never work. The mandates in here are not incentivizing the people to do this, and it's structurally, actuarially not sound. So therefore, this thing was doomed to fail from the beginning. And quite frankly, everybody tells me anyway, that 2017, this thing's going to go down because there's no companies that are going to continue to be a participant in the program. So yeah, a Trump presidency, I think would come to. I think he's got his own plan, but I think he would come to work with us. And again, the Better Way agenda that we have in the House. If you want to see the whole thing, it's just better.gop, and you can see it. We have our own Obamacare repeal and place plan in this agenda. It shows that we're going to try and go back and rely on the individual and the doctor for their care, get the private sector back involved, go to health savings accounts, incorporate a couple things that people like about the present plan, which is portability and young kids staying on the policy until age 26, no pre-existing conditions. So I think that's the only three things anybody ever likes about the Obamacare plan. Everything else they hate.
Right.
And so I think we've incorporated, I think, the good things and then allow the choice of the doctor and the patient to make their own choices on what's good for their care.
Absolutely.
And how much they want to pay for it.
Huge.
And I think those are the drivers that you're going to see a Trump administration run with.
Fantastic. Hey, Blaine, thanks so much. Thanks for all the info. Thanks for all the intel. And enjoyed having you on the show today.
Always a pleasure, Tim. Take care.
Hey, you take care. That was Congressman Blaine Luetkemeyer, who was bringing us the differences, a view from Capitol Hill about what the Trump presidency versus Clinton presidency would be. And see, folks, that's the point you need to keep in mind. I know there's a lot of noise right now. There's a lot of shrapnel flying around. There's a lot of personal attacks and vitriol turning a lot of people off. But I hate to bring this news to you. One of these two people is going to be our next president. And they're going to start trying to put policies into place. And God forbid the Republicans lose the Senate and Hillary gets a bigger blank check. I think if the Republicans hold the House and the Senate, it's just going to be status quo, stalemate for 4 years, except with what Blaine brings up, those executive orders and the rules and regulations, which the executive has incredible power over. So don't just say that, we'll be fine because, Trump's, all these never Trumpers, he's so crazy that we just can't put him in for any reason whatsoever, and we'll be fine because we'll have the House and the Senate. Well, Clinton can do plenty of damage with the Supreme Court, with the rules and regulatory power of the executive, and with as commander-in-chief. So if you care about the country, you should really care about who's going to occupy that Oval Office.